Good morning, good morning. Hope all is well out there. This is Thomas Taylor III coming to you live from Atlanta, Georgia. I hope you're safe and sound wherever you are in the country or even the world. Weather's pretty bad out here. Excuse me, it's raining out here. I know different parts of the U.S. is snowing. So we'll take the rain any day. So this morning, I want to talk to you about your origin, meaning where you actually came from. And what I want to start with is the challenge for today is I want you to go out and I want you to find your original birth certificate. Yep, I said it. Your original birth certificate. Did you hear that? Sound like I just took all the oxygen out of the air. Yeah, because you may not even know where your original birth certificate resides. The reason why I want you to find your original birth certificate is because it's going to start to tell a story, okay? So for instance, say I live in Atlanta, Georgia, and say you want to go to Orlando, and say you want to take the family to Disney World, okay? Cool. So you set your GPS to Orlando, and you guys are traveling, and then you stop at a rest stop, because all of us have. And at that rest stop, you typically see a map, and on that map, what do you see? Yep, you see that red star. And that star says, you are here, right? Sounds familiar, right? Because what it's telling you is that right now, this is where you are. And sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, that's indicative of our life, right? Now, that's not where we started, but that's where we are. So we're at a particular point in life, and we're trying to look for our destination, our destiny in terms of where we're going. But the challenge is, the reason why your GPS actually can give you the directions from Atlanta, Georgia to Orlando, Florida is because your GPS understands and knows where you started. The rest stop don't know where you started from, but at the rest stop knows where you are. And that's indicative of life. So we're going to go back to where you actually came from, like your original story. So when you look at your birth certificate, I want you to look at it and look at a few things. So look at to see the names on your birth certificate. Now, if the names on the birth certificate, you know, your mother and your father, same last name, meaning that they were married, I want you to take a quick inventory of your relationships. Are you in a committed relationship? Do you have a good relationship with your children? Now, it's not an absolute, but you'll start to find some synergy there. Or if your birth certificate only has your mom's name on it, your father's name is not on there, right? Just kind of look at your relationships. Or the person, the man that's on your birth certificate, you find out is not actually your father, right? There's a lot of situations out there as well. Or you could be adopted, and you may not even have your original birth parents on your birth certificate, right? And just kind of see where you are in life. So I'm gonna give you a little bit about my story. So I grew up in New York as Thomas Searles. I kind of went through that a little bit before. But how I got here today, you guys, is I went to Department of Corrections to be a corrections officer at Rikers Island. I couldn't find my birth certificate. So my grandmother took me down to Manhattan to the health department because I was born in Lenox Hill Hospital to get a copy of my birth certificate. They mailed my birth certificate to the house. Opened the birth certificate, and my birth certificate said Thomas Taylor. Thomas Taylor. Now my mom's want to kind of tell me the rest of the story, okay? So I take that to the Department of Correction and say, hey, young man, this is an alias. I'm like, alias who? Like, what are you talking about? I'm Thomas Searles. They said, no, you're Thomas Taylor, which is on my birth certificate. I said, wow. So I met my father one time in 85, right? So this is in the 90s. This is in the 90s now. So I had to legally petition the court to change my name to Thomas Searles. I didn't know anything about Taylor. Okay, so fast forward, like I said, I met my father once. Fast forward, reconnected with my father in 2005, guess what? I found out that my father name was Thomas Taylor Jr. I said, ooh, okay. So now I legally petitioned the court. You guys stay with me. I legally petitioned the court to legally change my name again to Thomas Taylor III. So on my birth certificate, and it's going to be in one of my books, on my birth certificate, it says Thomas Taylor. And they drew a line through Taylor. And they put Searles. Now they drew a line through Searles and put Thomas Taylor III on my original birth certificate. So the reason why I tell you that story is once I start to understand where I came from, ultimately, out of that experience, I was able to birth growing up non-profit organization is growing up without a father. Out of that, right, came that organization. Out of that came, I'm writing 2 books right now, right? That kind of tells, excuse me, a little bit about the story about growing up without my father. I have 1 book already done. It's not published yet. So the reason why I'm asking you to do that is because what happens is sometimes in life we search for our destiny. We search for our purpose, not realizing that our destiny and purpose actually can be tied to the origin of our name, which is ultimately the beginning. So, because if you look at anything that goes on in life, there's always an origin. And sometimes we live our lives trying to find out, again, our purpose and our why. But because sometimes it's painful and there's a lot of emotions, you guys, attached to it. But I challenge you to go back and understand your documentation, because I read in the book and it says, and the book talks about the lack of vision. Because of lack of vision, a people perish, right? So how do you really know where you're going, meaning where you say you want to go, if you don't really know where you came from? And I know it's tough, you guys, because it was tough. It was tough for me. And it's a place that we hide and we push back, because sometimes we take on the hurt, the pain, and the shame of that. But I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, you don't own that. We were recipients of that. We were beneficiaries of that. But sometimes that situation will hold us. It will bind us because of the shame and the emotion that we feel behind it, right? So I challenge you. If you want to move forward, right? If you kind of want to be released, go back, because again, like I stated, if you're on a destination, if you're going somewhere, why is it that you always know where you came from, right? So your GPS will always take you back to your originating destination, where you actually started. So, but why is it in life we think that where we started from is not important? Ladies and gentlemen, I promise you, I guarantee you that if you slow down for a moment, and if you start to discover, if you start to research and actually dig and find out your origin story, like, what is my story? And for those who have, your mother and father on your birth certificate, right? Start to go back generations, right? Start to dig a little bit deeper, because you'll find and you'll discover some things in your lineage, in your family history, that resonates where you are, and it can help clear up some things in yourself, in terms of where you're going and what you're doing. And you may not even realize that there were people, probably prominent, successful people in your family that nobody is talking about, right? Nobody's even mentioning. Then there's a lot of hurt and pain behind that. But I guarantee you guys, if you stop for a moment, if you dig and if you research, now once you know and now you start to document that information, it stops moving. Because sometimes in life, our destiny and our purpose eludes us because it's moving. It's constantly moving. And it seems like we're constantly chasing that. Well, when we develop a origin, right? Okay, this is who I am, and this is my origin story. Now, from that, we have a solid foundation that we can build from. You guys, that's the only way I can sit here in front of you and do a Facebook Live, right? And talk about the hurt and pain of my personal situation, right? Because I went through it, right? I know how it feels. I understand it. But it's a key, and it's a key that nobody's really talking about, right? That's why I'm not afraid and ashamed to kind of challenge you to go back to dig deep, because nobody's telling you this. To dig deep, find your documentation, find your birth certificate. A lot of people don't even know what a birth certificate is. Find it and start to digest it and read it and understand it. And it will start to tell you a story. And then you have a definitive starting point as you build your destiny. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's my time. If you want more information, you can hit me up on Messenger. I'm going to create different platforms where I can go just a little bit deeper and answer questions for you guys. So until we speak again, this is Thomas Hiller III. You go out there and make it a great day. Appreciate your time.